Hey everyone, in this video I will show you how to make this multi-reflection laser system. So here you can see that I have this fire coming out of it when I hit the ground like this. But if I hit a mirror like this, you can see that I have this reflection. I can also have this reflection from a moving mirror like this. I can also have any number of reflections I want. So here I can have like 20 reflections. And also after the tutorial, you will get this function, and here you can set the count of the reflections you want. So here I can set this to 2, and if I press play, here you can see that I can get like 2 reflections, or I can have like 1 reflection like this. I can also have 0 reflections. So here you can see that I don't have any reflections. I can also have 12 or any number you like this. I can also reflect off of everything. So if I tick this, now I can reflect off of everything like this. I can also change the color of the beams. So here I have this blue color like this. So this is what we are going to be creating today. And if you want to download the entire project file, you can support me on my Patreon. And for $5, you can download this and also download almost all my previous tutorials from there. And if you are already my Patreon, thank you very much for supporting me. So first we will create the beams. For that, right click, then go to material, m_beam, then open it up. Then change the blend mode to additive. You can also use translucent if you want darker colors. And then change the shading model to unlit. And for the opacity, we will get a particle color node. And we will also get a linear gradient. And now we can drag and type in cosine here. So we get this cosine node. And now if I preview this, you can see that I get this band like thing. So here we can 1 minus this, so it will become the center. So now if I preview the 1 minus, you can see that we get this band. Now we can multiply this with the opacity and connect this to the B. And we can saturate this. So this will clamp the alpha between 0 and 1. Now we can connect this to the opacity. And for the MC color, we can just drag and connect the color to the MC color like this. Now click apply. And now we will just stop the preview. So we get this nice soft band. Now click apply. Now we will create our Niagara system. So for that, right click, then FX, Niagara system. And now click next. Now get an empty emitter. Now press this plus icon, then finish. And now we can call this NS beams. Then open it up. And here we can go to the emitter update and we can type in spawn instantaneous. Then select this and change this value to like 20 or something like that for now. Now we will go here and we will just disable this and we will add a ribbon renderer like this. And for the material, we can add the material we created like this. Now we can go to emitter update and here we can type in beam emitter setup and we can tick both absolute beam start and beam end. So just tick both of them. And for the beam end and the beam start location, we need to create a user exposed parameter. So these two parameters will be vector since we are bringing in location data here. So first we will add a vector and we can call this beam start, and we can just drag that in like this, and we can just duplicate that, and we can call this beam end, and we can bring that in like this. Now we can go to initialize particle, and we can change the lifetime to 1, and we can change the color mode to direct set, and you can choose whatever color you want here. And now we can go to particle spawn, and here we can type in beam width and click fix and change the width to like 6. And now for particle update, we have to get beam update, because we need to update this vector parameters using the blueprint. And if you want that update to show up, we need to add this beam update in the particle update section. Now we need to control how to spawn the beams. So we can go to the spawn, and here for the spawn probability, we can tick this, and here we have a probability of 1, which means it will always spawn, and if it is 0, it won't spawn. So we can control the beams using that, or you could use the spawn count, but this will give a nice normalized value. So we can just set this from 0 to 1 for all our emitters. So here we will go and add a float, and we will call this beam spawn prob and add it to the spawn probability. And now if you need to preview the values, you can go to the ns beams and go to user parameters, and here I will type in 100 for beam end, and for probability I will add 1. So now we can see our beams, and here we will go to the emitter state and change the life cycle to self, and we will change the loop duration to 0.1, and we will set the lifetime to 0.1 also, so it will update really fast. So now we will create the blueprint. For that, go to the first person character, and we can go here and just disconnect this input fire, because we don't really want anything to fire right now during the tutorial. So disconnect that. Then go here and type in left mouse button. Then also we can get an event tick. So we need both of these. Now we need a for loop. So we can type in for loop. And here we can just drag and promote this to a variable, and we can call this beam count, because we are going to use this for loop to spawn the number of beams we want for the reflection. And now here we can type in spawn system attached, and here for the system, this is the system we created, so connect that here. And for the component, we can just get the sphere and connect that here, and maybe we can also get the world location of the sphere like this and connect this to here also. We can also change the location type to snap to target. And now we need to create an array of these beams. So drag and promote this to a variable, and we will call this beam array, and we can just disconnect both of these, and we can change this to an array here like this. So now just click compile and bring in the array, and here we can drag and type in insert and connect this here and connect this here and connect the index to this int here. So we will add this Niagara particle system to this index in the array like this. So now when we release the mouse button, we need to destroy or deactivate the beam. So make sure that in the beam, the inactive response should be complete. So it will just kill the emitter. And now for that, we can just drag the beam array like this. And here we can type in deactivate. So it doesn't really show up. So if you want to show up, you can just untick contrast sensitive and get the deactivate and connect this here like this. You can also use something like this, for loop then we will deactivate each on their own if you want. If this deactivate doesn't work, you can use a for loop like this. And now we also need to clear the array. So clear the array. So now take context sensitive and array clear and connect this here. And now we can get a gate and we can bring in the tick and connect the tick to the ender. And after we finish creating all the beams, we can just get the completed and connect that to the open. So after the beams are all created, we will open the event tick and we can update the locations using the event tick. Now when we let go of the mouse button, we can just close the event tick again. So connect that there. Now we will create a function to get the reflections working. So for that, go to functions, then add functions, then I will call this fn beams, then go here and add a local variable and we will call this all and change this to a boolean. So if you want it to bounce off of everything, we can set this all to true and change the variable type to single variable. And right now we will leave this at false. And now we will just duplicate this and we will rename this hit. Later in the tutorial, we are going to be using the line trace, and if it hits something, we will set this to true. But when we start also, we need to set this to true. So take that true as default value. Now we can create two vector parameters. So first one is location and the second one is normal. So now drag in the sphere and here we will get the world location of the sphere and set this to location like this. And for the normal, we can just drag that in and we can drag in the first person camera and here we can type in get forward vector and connect that to the normal like this. So since we want the laser to go through the crosshair, we want to get the first person character's forward vector. Now again we will get a for loop, but this time with break. Then for the last index, we can just get the beam count and connect that here. And for the loop body, we will get a line trace by channel. You can also create your own channels if you want, just for the mirror. And here for the start location, it is simply the location, this sphere location. And for the end location, we can get the normal and multiply this with like 1000 or something like that. So this will be the distance value. This will be how long that trace goes. It will be 1000 units. And if we add that 1000 units with this location, our end point will be like 1000 units away from this location, which is the location of the sphere, in the direction the camera is facing. Now also tick trace complex. We need that for it to work properly. Now we will set this to 1 duration because we can test this out right now. And now we will go to return and we will just get the hit and connect this here and connect this here. And here before the loop body, we will get a branch and connect this here. And only if this is true, we will do the line trace. And this condition should be this hit. And default value should be true. So now if this line trace doesn't hit anything, we will just break the loop like this. Now we need to set the location and normal again for the second loop. So for that, we can just break the out hit. And here we will just go to the location and add a vector to it. And we will multiply the normal with a small value like 3 or 4. And we will connect that here. And we will set the location to this new value. This 4 is because we need the reflections to be a little bit above the surface. So we will add a small offset to that. Then connect this here. Then we can get the normal. Here we can connect this to the normal like this. So for the beam count, we can set that value to like 4. So we forgot to add the function. So bring in the function and connect this to the exit here to the gate. And now if we press play, you can see it is reflecting like this. And here we can also have like multiple reflections like this. So this is what we want. Now we will add the beams to it. So here I will just bring it here like this, and here also, and here we will just bring the branch here, and now we can get the beam array, and we will do get a copy, and now we can promote this to a local variable, and we can call this current index. And we can connect this here, and we can connect this to the get also, and now we can promote this to a local variable. We can call this current beam. So here the first beam should always spawn, so we can drag and type in set Niagara float variable, and this should be the probability that we added. So this one, beam spawn probe. So here we can type in beam spawn probe, and we can set this to 1, and now we can just move this away, and now we need to set the beam start location. So we can type in set Niagara vector 3, and we can call this beam start, and for the value we can just drag and connect the location, and now we can connect this to the branch, and we can go here and we can get the current beam, and here we can drag and type in set Niagara vector 3, then this should be our beam end location. So we can type in beam end, and this location should be this one. So now if I press play, here you can see that I am getting the reflection, but now it's not always working. And one of the reason for that is that if we hit here, so here you can see that the line trace is going in a different direction compared to the beam. That's because this beam end location doesn't get set, because this hit value will be false, because that line trace is not hitting anything in the end location. So if it doesn't hit anything, we need to give it a new value. So we can get a branch, and we can connect this here and connect this here and connect this to the condition here, and here if it doesn't hit anything, we can just duplicate this and connect this here, and we can connect the false to the set Niagara variable, and here if the line trace doesn't hit anything, we can set the beam end location to the trace end location. So now if I press play, you can see that I'm getting something like this. It still fully doesn't work, but the reflections are working fine. So here you can see that the reflections are not dying, some of them, after we moved. So we need to despawn them. So in order to do that, here we can just drag in our beam array, and here we can do a for loop and connect this here, and we can get a branch. We only want to despawn the ones after the reflection, despawn the second one after the first one hit. So we still need the first one. So in order to get that, we can get the current index, and here we can drag the array index and do a greater than and connect this to the current index, and only if the index is greater than the current index we will despawn that. So connect that to the condition here like this, and here we can just duplicate the beam spawn probe and bring that in and set that to 0. And for this target we can connect this array element like this, and now if I press play, you can see there is still some issues, but it's mostly working, so we will fix that too. So here I made a mistake. We need to connect this branch before all of this, so just disconnect this and then bring it here, and we can bring it here and connect this here, and now connect this to the set Niagara variable, and now we can connect this to the line trace, and now if I press play, you can see that the reflections are working. So now we can just turn off the debug lines, and we can set the beam count to like 12 or something like that. So now let's see. So now you can see that you can get a lot of bounces like this. Now we will create the rest of the effects. So open up the Niagara system, then go to add emitter, then add fountain. If you don't see that, just go to add emitter and view options, then tick plugin contents and engine contents. So now we have this fountain. We will turn off the gravity and we will change the minimum velocity to like 200 and the maximum velocity to like 250. Then we will change the lifetime to 0.4 and 0.6. Then we can set whatever color we want like this. Now we will change the particle size to 2 and 4. So it will be really small. Then here for the add cone velocity, we need to give a normal axis for the cone axis. So for that we can get a vector parameter. So vector 3 parameter, and we can call this normal. And here we can call this normal and drag that into the cone axis and change the cone axis coordinate to world. Then go to emitter property, then change this to GPU particle and fixed bounds. So it kind of looks like this. And then for the spawn rate, we can connect the beam spawn probe here for the probability and click apply. Now we will default that to 0. Now if we press play, you can see that the beams are looking like this, and we need to fix that. And also we need to fix the location. So for that we can go to position and direct set, and this position should be the beam end location. And now we can go to the first person character blueprint, and here we can drag this and type in set Niagara vector 3, then the name here is the normal. Then we can connect the normal here like this. And now if I press play, now you can see that I am getting the particles flowing upwards like this. Now we will create the fire. For that, go to the beam and then just duplicate this, and I will call this fire. And here for the render, go to the starter content and find this fire sub UV and add that in here, and then the X should be 6 and the Y should be 6. Since this is using a 6x6 texture, now we can go here and type in sub UV animation and change the 63 to 35. So that's 6 into 6 minus 1. Now we need to increase the size of this one. So we will go here and change the size to 50 and 80. And now if we press play, you can see that we are getting some kind of fire like this, but that's just too bright. So we will go here and change this value to like 20. It's still too bright, and now we can go to the spawn rate and set this to like 20 or something like that. Now I think the color is still a bit too bright, so I will set this to like 5 or something like that. Okay, now we have our fire. So now we can scale this. So go to update and scale sprite size, and here we will set this to float and use a curve to scale it. So when it starts, it should be really small, so 0.2 or something like that, and when it ends, it should be 1 or something like that. So, and we will just auto curve this. So now if I press play, you can see that our fire is small when it starts, and then it is bigger. So now to create the second particle, we will duplicate the fountain again, and now we will call this drops. So here we will add a collision, and now just click fix issues, and now we can turn on the gravity again. So now if I press play, you can see that our particles are falling down and bouncing. So what we can do is that we can go to the sphere and change the sphere radius to 20, and also we can set the particle lifetime to 1 and 2. So now you can see that it is dropping down like this. We can reduce the gravity to like minus 300. So here we can lower the lifetime a bit, so 0.5 and 1. So now go to the velocity and change that to 150 and 300. Then change the gravity to like minus 400. Now if I press play, I think it's still a bit too fast. So now we can change the cone angle to like 90. And we can reduce the sphere radius to 10. So now we have something like this. We can change the color of this one to a red color like this. So now we only want this to spawn at the end of the beam, and we also don't want this to spawn during the mirror sequence. And now we will create the rings. For that, right click material and M underscore ring, then open this up, then set this to translucent, and shading model should be unlit. Then we can get a radial gradient, then we can get a particle color node and get a multiply, and here we can just sign this and then connect this to the multiply and connect this to the alpha and connect this to the opacity and then connect this to the emission color. And before that we can also saturate this, since this might go below 0. Now we can open up the beam, and now we will just duplicate this fountain, and then we can just add our new material to it like this, and make sure that this time we want a CPU simulation particle, and now we can spawn like 10 or something like that. Now we will go to initialize particle. So now we will untick this add velocity cone and sphere location, and now we will go to the initialize particle and we will set the size to 5 and 10. Now we can go to the sprite render and change the facing mode to custom aligned. So now I will just disable the fire and the drops so we can see our rings. So I will just rename this to rings. And now if I press play, so here we can see the rings and it isn't really pointing in the correct direction all the time. So in order to fix that, we can go here and go to the sprite render, and here for the facing mode, change this to custom facing vector. Now to add our custom facing vector, we can go here and we can type in sprite facing and just bring that in like this to update. And here for the sprite facing, we can add this normal like this. And now if I press play, you can see that it is lying flat on the ground. And now we want this drops to move with our laser. So in order to do that, we can just duplicate this. So now to make the particle move with the laser, we can go here and add and type in position and then get the particle position in, and this position should be the beam end like this, and we will go to initialize particle, so that should be beam end also. So now if I just untick this ring and if I press play, now you can see that the second ring is moving with the laser. So we need to make it a little bit bigger. So we can go to the initialize particle and change this to uniform and set this value to like 15 or something like that. Now you can see that the ring is going with the laser like this. And now we can bring in the other ring. So now you can see it is leaving a trail and the other one is moving with the character. So for the trail one, we can actually increase the spawn rate to like 80 or something like that, and we can reduce the size also. We will change the size to like 2 and 5. Now if I press play, it's really small, but you can see that it is trailing behind the character. So we will change the size to like 5 and 8. And now we will just copy the scale sprite size from the fire and paste it here. But this time we will make it bigger when it spawns, and we will make it grow smaller as time passes by. So 1 to 0. Now if I press play, we will get something like this. Again, it's too bright, so we can set that to this color and change this to like 20 or something like that. So we need to copy and paste this to the other ring also, and we will also change the color to like 20, so it will be less bright. So now we have something like this. So I will change this beam color to like 80. So now it looks much better. Now we can enable all the other stuff, the drops. So right now you can see that the fire is spawning everywhere. We don't really want that. We will fix that later. Now I can go to the beam, and here I can just disable the fire. And now if I press play, so now you can also see the green particle coming out of the impact point. So we don't really want the fire or the drops to work when we hit something. So we want it to look like this. So I can go here and I can get an effect like this. And we can also go to the fountain, and here we can increase the cone angle to like 50. So it will be more spread out. So if I press play, you can see that it is more spread out now. So this is what we want. So now we will make the mirror, and we will make the reflection only happen off of the mirror. So to create a mirror, you can just either drop in a cube like this and add components here. Also you can use tags. So you can use a component tag or an actor tag to identify if it is a mirror or not by adding that here. For this tutorial, I'm just going to create a blueprint actor. So just delete the cube. Now we can go here and right click, then we can call this BP mirror. Then open it up. Then go here and type in cube. Then we can scale it a bit like this. And I will bring it up like this. And now for the material, we can search for chrome. And we can add our chrome material to it. So now we can bring in the mirror. And now if I press play, and if I hit the mirror, you can see that I am getting reflection like this. And if we hit the ground also, we are also getting the reflection. This we don't really want, so we can go to the function. And here if we hit something, and if this is true, we will drag and type in cast to mirror. So this will be the mirror blueprint. And for the object, we can connect the actor here like this. And if this doesn't hit the mirror, we can just connect this here. So now if I press play, you can see that nothing is happening. But if I hit the mirror, you can see the reflection. So here we can just duplicate this mirror. So we can see multiple reflections like this. And now if I press fire, you can see multiple reflections here like this. So here we cannot see any reflection, but here we can see the reflection. So now if you want to switch back between hitting everything or hitting only the mirror, we can use this old boolean we created, and we can go here and get the old boolean. And here we can get another branch and connect this to here. So now connect this to the condition, and if this is false, if all is set to false, then we will check for the mirror, and if not, then we will reflect off of everything like this. So now if I go to the all and tick this, so now it is true. Now you can see that it is reflecting off of everything. And now if I untick this, it will only reflect off of the mirror we created. So now one more thing we need to do is that we need to bring the beam end and the beam normal before the mirror check. So we will just bring that in like this, and we will just bring all of this into here and connect this to here and connect this to here. So now it looks like this. We will set this beam end and beam normal before we do the mirror check. Hit to work. So if it hits something, we need the first one to work. So we will do that. Also, I think we also need to bring this to here. So we will just bring both of these two here also, and we can move this here like this. And now we can go here and we can drag in the hit, and we can set this to true. So if this thing hit the mirror, we will set this to true, and also if all is tick, we will also set the hit to true. So that will control the next loop here. So if it doesn't hit any mirror, then we will just get the hit, and we will just set this to false. So now if I tick this to all and press play, you can see that it is reflecting off of everything. And if I untick this, now you can see that it is only hitting the ground and there is no reflection. But in this one there is reflection. It is not reflecting off of this actor because it is a different actor, and we are checking for the BP mirror we created. But like I said, you could also use tag system to make this work. You can get which tag you hit using this hit actor or hit component and get tag. So you can get the tag and check it with the tag you created. So now we want to spawn the fire and the drops when we hit a non-mirror surface. So in order to do that, we can go to the beam mirror, and here we can create another float, and we can call this end spawn. And now we can tick the fire and the drops, and now we can go to spawn rate and replace it with this one, and here also we will replace it with this one. And now we will set the default value of that to 1, so it should always spawn unless we change the value. And here after the mirror is hit, we will just drag in the current beam, and here we can drag and type in set Niagara float, and the name is end spawn. And we can set this to 0. So now if I press play, we also need to update the location. Now I forgot something. We can just set this to 0 for end spawn, and here we can go to the function again, and we can just duplicate this and then connect this to here and connect this to the for loop and set this value to 1. So now you can see the fire coming out. We can also go to the beam, and here for the beam we can also add a jitter position, and I will set this to 3, and I will change the beam width to like 4, so it will be smaller. Now we get something like this. I will change the jitter position to like 2, and also I will change the fire color to red like this. So now here if you hit the mirror, the fire doesn't spawn, but if we hit something else, the fire spawns. So if I just angle it like this, and if I point the laser at it, you can see the fire spawning like that there. So now we also need to despawn the fire from all the other beams. So in order to do that, we can go here and we can just copy this and paste it here and change this to 0 and connect this here and delete the current beam. So now it will work better. So now you can see that we are having multiple reflections, and if it reflects something and hit the ground, you can see the fire like this. So that's how the laser reflection system works. But we can also do a lot of improvements. So one thing is that we can go to the fountain and we can go to Sprite render and change this to velocity aligned, and we can go to scale sprite size, and we can go here and we can do uniform, and here for the minimum we will give a value of 0.1 and for the maximum we will give a value of 0.2, and we will give y a value of 5 and 6. So now if I press play, you can see that it is coming out like that. You can also increase the speed in the cone velocity and also reduce the lifetime. So I will change this to 0.2 and 0.3, and I will increase the velocity to like 400 and 500. So now if I press play, you can see that it is coming out faster. I can also increase the amount of spawn. So I will change this to like 300 or something like that. And now if I press play, you can see that a lot of particles are coming out. Like this. And we can improve the fire also. We can go to the fire. Then we can go to scale color. And here we can type in linear color. And we will modify this using a curve. So here we can type in the color we want. So this red color, and we can shift click and we can add a red color like this here, and for this one we will add a black color. So now if I press play, so here you can see that the fire is getting dark towards the end. We can increase the fire spawn to like 40 or something like that. We can also increase the gravity of the drops to like -700, so it will be faster. And now if I go to the function and tick all, you can see that it is reflecting off of everything. And we can also untick this and we can change the beam count to like 2. And now we will only get 2 reflections. So I think that's it for the tutorials, guys. Thank you very much for watching.